Okay, shalom! Welcome back to me here on this Dave's Gone By episode, beginning the 24th year of the program. So to commemorate my appearance all those years ago on the first episode, I'm going to do StoryTime. StoryTime is a segment in which we read, either Dave or I, or sometimes both, we read from a story. Why isn't it showing? What the hell's wrong with the iTunes on this? Let me do the iTunes again. God damn it. Here we go. Let's see. Story time. Here. We read, and in this case, I will make commentary. Since this is the new year, it's Yom Kippur, it's new times. A Jewish perspective, and on this particular case, it's the book Guide to Getting It On by, this is the 6th edition, so this has been going on for a bit. Author and publisher Paul Joannides, who is a psych doctorate and probably a psycho. This is going to tell you the kind of thing that this book is going for in terms of being a textbook. Look at that. Look at that going on right there. Oh, it's story time.
Tell me a story, tell me a story, tell me a story, remember what you said. You promised me, you said you would, you gotta give in so I'll be good. Tell me a story, then I'll go to bed.
Now, where to start? Much as I am tempted to start perhaps with chapter 51, Vulva Care, keeping your kitty happy. I don't know. I had a cat. I had no problem with that. Then there's Hypospadias, which is what Hitler had. I could go there. Snoring and gas. This is what Dave's wife wishes I would look at. So much. Piercings and tattoos. Ooh, chapter 48, threesomes. Let me just, I'm going to take a moment there. Oh, there's no pictures. There should be pictures. All right, and then, what do we got here? The fruit of his loom. But there's actually a chapter here, chapter 77, why they wait so long to get to it. It's all the way on page 847. Sex. Oh, no, look at it. At least they put it in the right order. God and sex. Here it is. I guess that's God. Oh, no, that's God right there. Oh, I see God, the devil, and weird. Okay. Let us read from the Guide to Getting It On about God and sex. When people ask why I wrote this book on sex, I imagine you told them because I just had a lot of time on my hands. I usually say it was revenge for 8 years in Catholic school. Oh, thank God he wasn't Jewish. Thank God. Oh, it's a guy. He can write whatever he wants. But even before I went to school, I had started to appreciate the influence of religion on people's lives, both good and bad. One of my earliest memories as a child was being at a Holy Roller revival in a big tent with people waving their arms in the air like they just don't care and begging the Lord to save their souls. I think that's a MAGA thing. Our family, I blew that joke, didn't I? Our family was not evangelical, but the babysitter was. Later, as a teenager, I would revisit the revivals just out of curiosity. Revivals were like the circus. They rolled into town for a couple of days and then rolled out in the dark of night, kind of like a condom. The county where we lived was poor, so it was interesting to see the evangelists arrive in shiny new Cadillacs. And we'd see Jews would drive Subarus. They were, or maybe a Mercedes if they wanted to get it to the Germans. At what seemed like a prearranged moment during the revival, one of the women who had arrived in one of the new Cadillacs would start screaming that she had inoperable cancer and had been saved by, you should pardon the name, Jesus. She would then crawl up the aisle to the collection basket, waving serious amounts of cash as she wept and wailed. Sometimes the preacher would lay his hands on her and she would faint because his breath was, other times not. On the second night of the revival, at the very same moment, the same woman would be wearing a different colored wig and would scream that the Lord had saved her from the ravages of alcoholism and sexual excess. Sexual excess for a Jew is like twice in one night. Again, with big bills in each hand, as opposed to big dicks, many in the audience followed, admitting to their own transgressions of the flesh and asking that Satan be cast from their souls. The most important thing I learned at the revivals wasn't that they were well planned and well orchestrated. Rather, it was the impact on the people who went to them. Even to my young self, I could see how these events put hope into the lives of people who didn't have much. It's where they went to confess and be saved until the next time. As they say, Jesus saves, Moses invests. Maybe that's why people would show up at those revival tents and wave their arms in the air and not notice the woman who started the parade of bill-waving sinners was a ringer from the bank of the preacher. I still don't know. I didn't know then, and I still don't know if that was such a bad thing. It's hard for any of us to live our lives without hope. Try being Jewish. As for my own personal experience with religion and hope, there was a radio evangelist by the name of Brother Popoff. Yes, this is the book of getting it on. Brother Popoff, who I sometimes listened to on the all-night radio station that beamed up from Mexico. He was on after the Wolfman. If you sent him money, he promised to send you a special prayer cloth. So I taped some dimes and quarters to a card. I sent him what I had. A few weeks later, a piece of red cloth arrived in the mail. It was about 1 foot square with no seams on the sides. The accompanying note said for me to lay it over anything that was troubling me. Well, considering what this book is about, probably his crotch. So I went to bed every night. I made a joke. I just made a joke there about putting the... I went to bed every night with that red prayer cloth tucked inside the front of my briefs. I never did see much of a dividend, but then again, not too many people go on to write 992-page books on sex. How this, great, fun to read chapter, honest, clever. What this has to do with a textbook or telling kids about anything, I don't know. But let's see. Let's try one more short chapter of this book, which is very fun to read. How about, I don't know. What about, what's next? What do they got here? How about, no, I want it to be good for you. That's why I'm taking so much time with this. I want it to be good for, was it good for you? We can read a little bit. How about, not going to read this whole chapter, but how can you resist a chapter? Chapter 18, nipples. Page 223. Yes, indeed, my friends. 223, sorry. Nipples. When the title of this chapter, the title of this chapter is fun, it should have been breasts, I agree. Or nipples, breasts. Kind of talking about semantics, sometimes with the semen. That's because for many women, the part of their breast that they prefer, having kissed or caressed, is between the neck and the nipples, as opposed to just the nipples themselves. Plastic surgeons discovered this when they were doing studies of sensations in women's breasts. And let me tell you, women's breasts are sensational. There's also the implication that nipple stimulation is only for women. However, a 2006 study on nipple breast stimulation found that 52% of males enjoy tender kisses and caresses on their breasts. Oh, well, no, on their own nipples, the men. There was probably another 25% of the males who were too manly to admit that they enjoyed it, or unable to allow themselves to ask a partner to do it. Men seem to have similar variations in nipple and chest sensitivity as women do. Some men get an erection and nearly come when their nipples are caressed. And some find it enhances their orgasm if a partner sucks on or caresses a nipple at the same time that they are coming. Plenty of women and men have mega nerve endings in their nippies, chests, and breasts. The sensations can be both pleasant and annoying. Again, Jewish. One woman might find it heavenly when a lover barely breathes on her nipples, but convulses in pain if he's even the slightest bit rough. Let me tell you, I've been being married to my dear wife Miriam Libby for all these years. I'm trying to do it, and if even one beard hair touches her little titty, forget it. It's over. She's making reservations at the local deli. So the partner learns to traverse her tender nipples like a butterfly and becomes a master at the art of subtle stimulation. Another woman wants her lover to handle her nipples with authority and doesn't find it erotic until his lips latch on like an industrial vacuum cleaner. See, for some women that would suck. Damn it. Also, some women's boobs become more sensitive during certain stages of their menstrual cycle, especially if they're taking birth control pills. Know your lover's body and be sensitive to the ebb and the flow of what feels good and when. And don't assume it's the nipple that does the trick when it might be the area a couple of inches above or to the side of the nipple. So, you know what? Really be safe. Start on the lamp on the night table. Start licking that. And then gently eventually approach the partner and approach the titty if you can. Oh, such good advice from this book, The Guide to Getting It On, by the psychiatrist, whatever he is, Paul Joannides, with wonderful illustrations by Derek Gross Sr. I guess Gross Jr. is too young to read the book, and edited by Tony Johnson. Kind of a good, kind of fun stuff and helpful stuff, and written in a very colloquial, enjoyable sort of way. And even comes with its own bookmark. So, you put this on your door. If, hey, you know what I'm saying. I have no idea what I'm saying. Or there's even this is the bookmark. This is the Do Not Disturb thing. This book gives you everything you basically need to get it on with somebody, aside from flowers and chocolates and meals and begging. Well, it's about 20 to 12, my friends. I'm definitely gonna read more of this book on a future episode of Storytime on Dave's Gone By. Meanwhile, I wish you again a happy post-Yom Kippur. You got through it. Now we can get happy again. You got Sukkot coming up very, very soon. We also have the anniversary of the October 7th and the horrors, and bring the fucking hostages home, please, whatever we have to do. And stand up for yourselves. Stand up for Israel. Have a good week, a good year. And Dave is coming back for more of this show. This was Storytime, by the way, in case you weren't clear on that.